Previously on the RX7 build.
Maybe, but I'd rather verify. I had the machine shop check all the bearings. I'm gonna be so pissed if I take this thing back out again. It's wobbling, bud. We need to fix the oopsie that I made with the RX7, and that is the front needle bearing. You see, when I built this engine, I made a critical mistake. Not one that is detrimental to the engine's health, but one that would be long-term, and that is these front needle bearings. See, what had happened is when I checked Endplay on this engine, I turned the engine from vertical to horizontal to verify Endplay, and when I did that, I also took off the front hub, which caused one of these needle bearings to drop, get pinched, get bent, causing the entire assembly to wobble for the crank pulley, not the actual E-shaft, but the crank pulley. So I ordered one of these front bearing supports from E&J, and I actually just got off the phone with them, and they told me that I can totally do this with the engine in the car. Now, God forbid we get in there, we tear the front cover apart, and we don't find a bent needle bearing or a crushed needle bearing. I'm gonna have some concerns because that probably means the E-shaft is bent, which is going to raise some red flags because I had Atkins Rotary verify my E-shaft is good, check it, and do the balancing for the engine. So I'm gonna be a very unhappy little puppy dog over here if there is something wrong with that E-shaft, because that E-shaft was totally just fine when I tore this engine apart. So I'm assuming that the E-shaft is still okay, but I'm just glad I don't have to take the engine out to fix this mistake. To get down to the meat and the potatoes of what we need to get this bumper off, our intercooler out of the way, the intake comes off, intercooler piping comes out. We're gonna have to drop the radiator hoses. We're gonna have to drain the coolant out of this thing, get the radiator out of here, disconnect the oil cooler lines from the front cover and the oil cooler thermostat down there, get this front brace out of here, and then at that point we'll probably have to take up the water pump and maybe the power steering pump also, but that is all way better than having to take out this engine. So, where do I want to start? Let's start by let's get our bumper off. Get all of our fancy titanium hardware out of here. It'll go back in though, don't worry. All the JDC fancy stuff. I really shouldn't be touching it with my bare hands, I feel like, but that's all right. Sorry for showing you guys my butt. Might as well get coolant out right now, right? I'm already here. All right, let that drain out for a couple minutes. Dope, that gives us access to get the radiator out. I gotta unplug the radiator fans, all that. I'm going to make an absolute mess of coolant again. It's gonna happen, happens every time. I think this time, play this a little bit smarter. Okay. Disconnect these guys. Oh yeah, dude, I can hear all the coolant inside of that hose right there. I want to try to catch that in the bucket, but hoses don't always like to come off, so you kind of gotta work them a little bit without puncturing the hose, just like that. Now, both of those are gonna wanna leak. So I'm gonna try to get the radiator out without leaking coolant everywhere. Oh, damn it. When it comes to resealing this pan, we need to, oh shit. Okay, there we go. We need to make sure that we can get this thing as dry as absolutely possible, which is 2050, and that oil looks clean coming out, no metal, so that is a good sign for the engine, obviously, with having that needle bearing acting up. So we will let this just drain, like drain. We're gonna let it like really drain for like a while. But yeah, that oil looks freaking perfect, dude, which is beautiful. That's what I like to see right there. Especially on a fresh engine after running it like that. Which, hey, my tolerances were right. My needle bearing was just wrong. All right, let's let that drain. I gotta pull these oil cooler lines off because the thermostat for the oil cooler actually ties into the front cover. So I gotta pull these off, which it's not a big deal. I do need a 10mm to pull this off though. So smart boy, and I secured them like you should. Secure your oil lines. Oh my gosh, dude, it's gonna leak right onto these power steering lines. I have to disconnect the power steering cooler anyways, so let me actually disconnect that first. Not disconnect, we don't want to disconnect power steering lines. We just want to move them out the way. See, now we can just kind of move our power steering cooler out the way. Kind of tuck it over here by the sway bar. I guess I can zip tie it down right there just to keep it over there. There we go. Keep that guy just kind of tucked out the way for now. Where all this is going to leak, because I don't want to get oil everywhere, especially all over on my freshly clean stuff. Cooler line.
It's like one nice, good little DTM connector to the side. Use it. Throw anything in there. I don't even care.
I wasn't falling for that shit again when I get covered in that. Nice. Got me last time. Fool me once, shame on me. Or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame. Now that we got the majority of everything out of the way to be able to access the front cover here, I'm gonna start stripping down kind of everything that's in our way, get out the water pump. The entire water pump housing has to come off. I believe, yeah, it does. The entire water pump housing is gonna have to come off. Alternator's gonna have to come out. Power steering pump's gonna have to come off. The bracket's gonna have to be moved. So, you know, it's still better at the end of the day than pulling the engine. And then once we get everything kind of cleared out here, we'll put our engine support frame across the strut towers. We will bolt it up to the engine, and then we will drop the subframe, drop the oil pan, pull the front cover, and get down to our needle bearing. Suspended and the oil pan off, so in theory use a couple 12s. There's one more on the other side, and knock this thing loose, and we should be able to see what the fuck's going on. There we go. There's our front cover. We'll set that down. Yep. Look how clean that is. Almost like someone just built it. Can you hand me something to use a 17 with?
I didn't know if you just wanted a sock and then or a ratchet gun.
Gun's fine. Which I should probably replace this washer also that I gotta pull out. So this oil OMP sprocket. This and this are gonna come off together. Levi, can you keep your eyes on the ground over here just in case this keyway falls?
Yeah, send it.
It's fucking tiny. It's right there. Okay, now let's do
I
it.
see it. Yeah, here.
Right there.
She's in there.
Counterweight. Ah! Looky there!
Oh yeah.
There's our fucking problem. I knew it. I'm glad that that's the only problem.
It's not very demure.
That's not demure. That is not mindful. That is a dropped fucking bearing. Or a dropped doodad. You little bish. We found the problem. What actually happened was we didn't drop a needle bearing. We ended up dropping this shim. And what the shim does is it separates this needle bearing here from the counterweight. So when I checked Endplay, I had the shim like this. And then when I unbolted the front hub to make a change, this fell because there's no longer any tension pushing this against that needle bearing there. So no damage to the engine. I'm glad that the only issue was this. And there is some scoring on this shim spacer piece here, which, I mean, I didn't even buy a new one of these, so I guess it doesn't really matter because we're swapping over to the new one. So we're gonna pull off these 12s going around the stationary gear, remove all of that, and then put our new piece on, which I actually have to take out this guy here. So we're gonna go ahead, come right up here and pop these guys out. Pull off the shim, pull off the needle bearing. I need to get this plate off, which is always a fun time. I've knocked this thing out. There it is. We take off this front plate and literally everything behind here. So I'm in love with a stripper. Come out, let go. Give me a magnet, you ho. I'm in love with the stripper. And then this guy actually just slides on, which is, holy shit, that's a tight fit. Like machined precisionally. Holy guacamole, that's a tight fit. Then we have this other precision, and all that does is keep the counterweight away. So I just realized I went back and I watched, E&J has a video of this. I put that on there backwards. So Levi's pulling it off, we're gonna take it off, flip it around, put it back on, and then it should make sense because we tried to put the keyway on and the keyway didn't line up properly. So we're like, something is obviously wrong here. So double check the video, we're pulling it off, we'll get that flipped around, I'll show you guys after we get it flipped. I thought that the chamfered edge faced the front of the housing, which I was wrong. This is the other way. There we go. Should go off now. When you go to install one of these, if you have one also, the chamfered edge faces inwards towards the engine, not towards the front cover. I had misunderstood that when I spoke to them earlier. That's my fault. That's on me. There we go. That makes more sense. Now the keyway is actually visible. Thank you, Papa. Papa! What is that from? Oh, that's from fucking Stranger Things. Papa!
Oh.
Papa, no! You're the monster, Papa! There we go. Look at that. Into the unknown, into the thick of it.
I'm not even Mochi, my life saving. She looks so cute.
She's fucking button. It's the next day. I went to Atkins and I actually just bought a brand new oil pan, and some of this like magical sealant that they have. This is the first sealant I've used that has made an oil pan actually seal up. It is the black RTV silicone instant gasket from ProSeal, and it works really well. It smells awful, works insanely well. So I just got done cleaning the bottom of the engine, so once the oil pan goes back on there, we can actually toss the subframe back in, get the engine set back down in the subframe, get everything reassembled. I want to actually check the cure time on this because I don't want to put oil in this pan until the gasket is fully cured, which is why this is like the first thing I want to do right now. So what is the actual cure time? I'll look up the cure time after I put it on. Regardless, I want to make sure this is like fully cured up because FDs and oil pans, they don't always like to seal. I do have the oil pan brace and I did stud the engine for the oil pan, but it's still kind of a pain in the butt to get these things to seal up. So let's get a whole bunch of sealant on that thing, get it up on the engine, get the oil pan sealed up, subframe back in, start reassembling everything. We have the RX7 completely reassembled with the exception this pipe is just in there temporarily. We need to put oil in this, but I need to hold off doing that until tomorrow because we need to give that oil pan a 24-hour cure so that way it will actually seal up properly. I do need to pick up some more coolant because all the coolant I had is already in the engine, and as you guys can see, it does need a little bit more because we are totally empty in that thing. But tomorrow we'll get this thing started up. We'll see if this fix the problem, which after seeing what we found after taking the front cover off, I'm pretty confident that this is going to fix everything and we should be good to go after this engine wise. I haven't shown you guys this yet, but we had a little bit of an oopsie on the roof right here. The Subaru leaked some type of fluid on the RX7 and it totally ate through the paint right there, so we need to repaint the sunroof. Thankfully it is only isolated to the sunroof. I was looking for a glass sunroof to try to replace it, but it's no big deal. When our hood shows up, I'll paint the sunroof. We'll do the hood so that way that kind of completes. We'll install the wing, repaint the sunroof, get the hood on to just kind of wrap up the exterior of the car at that point. I've got some interior bits coming for it as well, and there's a couple little odds and ends that I still need for it. But anyways, we'll let this thing sit overnight. We'll toss some oil in it in the morning. We'll get it fired up, and fingers crossed that our crank doesn't wobble anymore, or our crank pulley doesn't wobble anymore, because it shouldn't. It won't. I already know it won't. So we let that sealant cure for 24 hours. We've got Humpty Dumpty all put back together here. We got coolant in it, we got oil in it, we got a new oil filter on here. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. I'm going to just focus on the kind of the data and making sure the car is operating as needed. As soon as I get through all my checks, make sure the crank pulley isn't shaking and whatnot, I'll grab you guys. But for the time being, I'm just gonna toss you on the tripod for a second, just so I can make sure all of this is good to go. little test drive, but we're fixed, baby. It's stumbling a little bit below 2K RPM. I think it's plugs. It might be a little foul. Oil time skip pretty fucking high. I mean, the car's just sitting and I don't have like a super good fan. I've got my Walt fan, but yeah, just idling with like that. I mean, it's also probably running a little warm anyways right now, so I'm gonna leave the cooling system kind of self-burp for a minute. Probably like 10-15 minutes, just getting residual air out of the system, but coolant temps were spot on. They didn't really go above like 188, so we're just gonna let it self-burp, let all that excess coolant enter the engine and any air out. Then we'll go take it for a little quick test drive, see how she does. I've let the car cool down. Like I said, oil temp got kind of high at like 226 is I think what it capped out at. I'm gonna just go do a quick little test drive around here, see how the car responds, make sure that everything's solid. I wanna put it under a little bit of load just to make sure that that thing's not gonna start wobbling again, because it didn't start wobbling until I drove the car. So I just wanna do like a quick little lap around here, make sure it's all good. I don't have Levi, Mel, or anyone here, so I don't have anyone to film for me, so I'm just gonna toss you guys on a tripod out here. I'll bring my phone in the car. I'll try to record on my phone, but no promises on that because I'm pretty bad at that. So let's get this thing fired up real quick and go just give it a quick little test drive. Man, they're small cars.
But it sounds so fucking nice.
Right? The rotary sounds so good.
I want one so bad. Oh, now I have to learn how to build rotary.
Got the FD pulled back in, and dude, it's so, I haven't even really driven it that much, but I was mobbing around the shop a little bit, and the car feels so good. Like even untuned, like whenever I get into load a little bit, the AFRs are kind of where they need to be. It's a little bit leaner than I'd like, but I'm not getting into boost right now. But like the steering response, the brakes, the clutch, it's such interactive, I guess is the way to use driving experience compared to some of the other cars that I've driven. It's so wild. I've had this car for a year and a half and I've maybe driven it 2-3 miles because I've always been just working on it and plugging away at it, and it's almost done now. But such a cool driving experience. I'm so excited to get this thing tuned and actually start driving it around. So I'm glad that the issue's fixed. I'm glad it was nothing more than one of those little shims that have fallen. I had a feeling that is all it was. So that's rectified, fixed, all good to go. The FD videos are gonna slow down a little bit because I'm waiting on all these parts to come in. The hood, the dash bezel, fender liners, a whole bunch of just small stuff for the car, but it's getting there. I'm trying to get tuning in next week for the RX7, so we'll see how that goes. I can't make any promises yet, but I'll keep you guys updated. That's all I got for you guys on this one. If you liked the video, If you're hyped to see the RX7 actually back up and running and driving as it should be, go ahead and hit that like button. If this video actually helped you, or maybe somebody that you may know who may be suffering from that exact same issue, send them the video. Hopefully it helps, because sometimes it's not always worst case scenario like a bent E-shaft or something along those lines. So with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you're not subscribed and you want to be, I'll put it in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.